You think you know how to focus? You think focus is willpower. You think it's about gritting your teeth, sitting in a chair, and forcing your brain to process information for 8 hours straight until the job is done. You buy the coffee, you lock the door, you open the book, and you sit there. 1 hour passes. You feel okay. 2 hours pass. You're rereading the same sentence for the third time. 3 hours pass. You are staring at the page, but the words are just shapes. They are black marks on white paper, void of meaning. You check your phone. You look at the clock. Within minutes, you realize you haven't actually absorbed a single thing since hour 1. We have all been there. The all-nighters, the library marathons, the desperate attempts to cram an entire semester of biology or a quarter of financial reports into a single night of suffering. We wear this suffering like a badge of honor. We tell our friends, "I studied for 10 hours yesterday." We think the pain proves we worked hard. But the brain doesn't care about your pain. The brain doesn't care about your hustle. The brain is a biological machine. It has gears. It has fuel limits. It has heating issues. It has a specific operating manual that evolved over millions of years, and for the last century, we have been using it wrong. We have been trying to drive a Formula One car in first gear for 500 miles, wondering why the engine is smoking. Dr. Marty Lobdell, a legend in the psychology of learning, figured out the manual. He realized that most people don't suffer from a lack of intelligence. They suffer from a lack of strategy. They are trying to force a biological system to act like a computer. But you are not a hard drive. You are an organism. And when you stop fighting your biology and start leveraging it, when you actually look at the mechanics of how neurons encode information, you discover something startling. You can learn more in 2 hours than most people learn in 10. It's not magic, it's engineering. Let me walk you through the 7 switches you need to flip. Switch 1, the rhythm of the hunter. Let's start with the biggest lie you've ever been told. Sit down and finish your work. Imagine you are sprinting. You run as fast as you can. How long can you keep that up? 30 seconds? Maybe a minute? If someone told you to sprint at top speed for 4 hours, you would laugh. You know your muscles can't do that. They run out of glycogen. They build up lactic acid. They fail. Your brain is a muscle. It is the most energy-explosive organ in your body. It weighs 3 pounds, but consumes 20% of your oxygen. When you focus, really focus, you are burning through cognitive resources at a sprinting pace. Lobdell found the limit. It's not 4 hours. It's not even 1 hour. It is 25 to 30 minutes. That is the biological wall. After about 30 minutes of intense, concentrated study or work, your efficiency drops off a cliff. You might still be sitting there. You might still be looking at the screen. But the save button in your brain has stopped working. You are operating in a zone of diminishing returns. By hour 4 of a continuous session, you aren't working. You are hallucinating productivity. The hack is simple, but it requires courage because it feels lazy. You must stop. Every 25 minutes, you must stop. Completely. I don't mean you switch tabs to check email. That is still cognitive work. I mean you stand up, you walk away from the desk, you stretch, you look at a wall, you listen to a song. You do absolutely nothing related to the task for 5 minutes. What happens in that 5 minutes is not rest in the passive sense. It is a biological reset. It allows the neurotransmitters in your prefrontal cortex to replenish. It clears the noise from your neural networks. It's like cooling down the engine of that Formula One car so it doesn't melt the pistons. When you sit back down, you aren't continuing a 4-hour slog. You are starting a fresh, new 30-minute sprint. You are 100% engaged again. If you do this, 30 minutes on, 5 minutes off, you can stack hours of peak state focus that would be impossible otherwise. You are hacking the rhythm of your own biology to stay in the sprinting phase forever. Switch 2, the shrine of context. Have you ever tried to sleep, but you just toss and turn for hours? Or have you tried to study in bed and 10 minutes later you're waking up with the book on your face? This isn't an accident. This is Pavlovian conditioning. Ivan Pavlov famously rang a bell and fed his dogs. Eventually he could just ring the bell, and the dogs would salivate. Their biology reacted to the trigger. Humans are exactly the same. We take cues from our environment. But we have broken our own triggers. Be honest. Where do you work? Do you work on the couch? The same couch where you watch Netflix? Do you work at the kitchen table where you eat? Do you work in your bedroom where you sleep? The problem is that your brain is confused. When you sit on the couch, your brain asks, are we relaxing today? Are we watching a movie? Or are we writing a thesis? It doesn't know which neural pathways to prime. It is stuck in a state of conflict, half alert and half relaxed. Lobdell proposed a radical solution. Creates a study shrine. It must be a place where you do nothing but focus. It can be a specific desk. It can be a corner of the library. If you live in a small apartment and don't have extra space, Lobdell suggests a focus lamp. Here is how it works. You buy a specific lamp. You only turn that lamp on when you are studying. The moment you lose focus, the moment you grab your phone, the moment you start daydreaming, you turn the lamp off. You train your brain. Lamp on means deep work. Lamp off means recovery. At first it feels silly, but do it for a week. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. It will learn that the click of that lamp switch is the bell. When that light hits your desk, your brain will flood your system with acetylcholine and dopamine, priming you for focus before you even read the first word. You are creating a biological trigger for genius. But there is a warning here. Never, ever study in bed. Your bed is a sacred trigger for sleep. If you introduce work stress into that environment, you destroy the sleep trigger, hello, insomnia, and you destroy the work trigger, hello, napping. Keep the shrine sacred. Switch 3. The illusion of competence. How do you study? If you are like 99% of people, you open the book or the report. You read it. You highlight the important parts in yellow. Maybe you read it again. You look at the highlighted sentence and you say, yes, I know that. I recognize that. You move on. You feel good. You feel prepared. Then you get to the test, or the meeting, or the moment you need to recall that data, and your mind goes blank. Total silence. You panic. But I knew it, you scream internally. I highlighted it. This is the biggest trap in the human mind. It is called the difference between recognition and recollection. When you look at a highlighted sentence, your visual cortex recognizes the pattern. It says, I have seen this before. That feeling of familiarity releases a tiny bit of dopamine. You feel confident, but specific recognition does not mean you have the neural pathways to pull that information out of the ether. You recognize the answer. You didn't create it. Lobdell forces us to confront this. You have to stop highlighting. Highlighting is a pacifier. It makes you feel like you're working when you're just coloring. The hack is the feedback loop. Read a paragraph, then close the book. Look away. Can you say what you just read out loud in your own words? If you can't, you don't know it. It doesn't matter if you just read it 5 seconds ago. If you cannot restructure that information and speak it into the world without the prompt, it has not been encoded. It is sitting in your short-term sensory memory, and it is evaporating like mist. This hurts. It is uncomfortable to close the book and realize you have no idea what you just read. It halts your progress. But this is the only way to verify that you are actually building a memory. You have to test yourself in real time. You have to force the brain to retrieve the data, not just recognize the input. Switch 4. The grandmother test. We can take the feedback loop further. Many people memorize facts. They memorize definitions. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Great. What does that mean? What if the mitochondria stops working? What happens to the organism? If you only memorize the definition, you are fragile. If the question on the test is phrased slightly differently, you are lost. Lobdell insists on active learning. The best way to learn is to teach. Imagine you are sitting across from your grandmother, or a 5-year-old child, or an empty chair. You have to explain the concept you just learned to them. You have to explain it simply, using analogies, without jargon. Well, Grandma, the mitochondria is like a tiny battery factory inside every part of you. As you try to do this, you will stumble. You will hit a wall where you say, well, it does. It sort of, stop. That is where your knowledge ends. That stumble is the gold mine. That is the exact point where your understanding is fuzzy. You have identified the gap in your mental model. Go back to the source material. Fix that specific gap. Try again. When you can explain a complex idea in simple language without stumbling, you haven't just memorized it. You have mastered it. You have woven it into your existing neural architecture. It is no longer a fact floating in space. It is part of how you see the world. Switch 5. The map before the territory. Imagine I give you 1,000 pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. I throw them on the table and say, build it. I don't give you the box. I don't show you the picture of what it's supposed to look like. You have no idea if it's a castle, a boat, or a cat. How long will it take you? A long time. You are brute forcing connections. Does this blue piece fit with this blue piece? It's slow. It's painful. Now, imagine I show you the picture on the box first. It's a castle on a hill. Suddenly, your brain organizes the task. Okay? Find the blue sky pieces. Find the gray stone pieces. You have a framework. Most people try to learn without the box. They open a textbook to page 1 and start reading. They try to memorize details before they understand the structure. They are picking up puzzle pieces at random. Lobdell promotes a method called SQ3R: survey, question, read, recite, review. But the most critical part is the survey. Before you read a chapter, before you try to learn a detailed report, spend 5 minutes just looking at the structure. Read the title, read the subheaders, read the captions under the pictures, read the summary at the end. Build the skeleton first. Give your brain the box cover. When you do this, you create a semantic tree in your mind. You create hooks. Then when you actually read the text, the facts have somewhere to sit. Oh, this detail about the date goes onto the history branch I saw earlier. You aren't just throwing information into a pile. You are hanging ornaments on a tree that you already built. It makes the absorption of detailed facts almost effortless because they have context. Biology loves context. The brain remembers relationships, not isolated data points. Switch 6. The sleep of the dead. Let's talk about the biological necessity that our culture tries to kill. Sleep. There is a myth that you can cheat sleep, that you can drink enough specialized coffee to override the need for rest. You think sleep is just downtime, a waste of hours that could be used for productivity. This is dead wrong. Sleep is not a pause button. Sleep is the save button. During the day, you are gathering information. You are throwing files onto the desktop of your computer. It's cluttered. It's messy. The connections differ. When you enter REM sleep, rapid eye movement, your brain shifts modes. It starts cleaning the desktop. It takes those temporary memories and moves them to long-term storage. It washes away the toxic metabolic waste products that build up between neurons, specifically beta amyloid. It literally physically changes the structure of your brain to encode what you learned. If you study for 12 hours and then sleep for 4, you have undone the work. You didn't click save. The file is corrupted. Lobdell emphasizes that the tired mind is not just slower, it is chemically incapable of encoding deep memory. You are better off studying for 1 hour and sleeping for 8 than studying for 8 hours and sleeping for 1. And here is a specific trick Lobdell mentions regarding naps. If you are exhausted in the afternoon, take a nap, but it must be a NASA nap, 17 to 20 minutes. If you sleep longer than 30 minutes, you enter deep wave sleep. If you wake up from deep wave sleep, you will experience sleep inertia. You will be groggy. You will be stupid for an hour. But a 20-minute nap rests the system without entering the deep cycle. It clears the cache without rebooting the whole operating system. Protect your sleep like your life depends on it, because your intelligence certainly does. Switch 7. The dopamine treat. Because usually, The reward for studying is too far away. I am studying now so that in 4 years I can get a degree, so that in 5 years I can get a job, so that in 10 years I can buy a house. The primitive part of your brain, the lizard brain, the basal ganglia, does not care about 10 years from now. It cares about right now. It wants safety, food, and pleasure, now. If the only thing you give your brain during study is pain, boredom, and stress, your lizard brain will eventually revolt. It will make you procrastinate. It will make you check Instagram, because that gives a tiny hit of dopamine now. You have to bribe the lizard. Lobdell calls this treating yourself, but it has to be immediate. At the end of your focused sprint, that 25 or 30-minute block we talked about, you need a micro reward. It can be a piece of chocolate. It can be checking your favorite text thread. It can be a specific song you love. You are training yourself like a dog. If I sit here and focus intensely for 30 minutes, I get the treat. Over time, your brain starts to associate the focus itself with the coming dopamine. The resistance fades. You stop dreading the work because the work is the precursor to the reward. But the reward must be contingent on the behavior. If you cheat, if you check your phone during the 30 minutes, you have broken the contract. You must be strict. No focus, no treat. This reinforces the behavior loop, the cue, the lamp, the routine, 25 minutes of active recall, the reward, the chocolate break. This is how you build a habit that lasts a lifetime. The synthesis. So look at the picture we have painted. It is very different from the grind set culture we see online. The grind set says, work in your bedroom, in the dark, for 10 hours straight, fueled by anxiety and energy drinks, highlighting every word, never sleeping until you pass out. The Lobdell method says, define a specific space, the shrine, to trigger the mode. Work in intense short bursts, the rhythm, to respect your biological limits. Survey the information first, the map, to build a structure. Actively test yourself, the feedback loop, to ensure encoding. Teach it to an empty chair, the grandmother test, for mastery. Reward yourself immediately, the treat, to maintain dopamine. Sleep, the save button, to make it permanent. When you investigate what really happens when you learn, you discover something so strange, so fundamentally different from your everyday experience. Ideally, learning shouldn't feel like a heavy weight crushing you. It shouldn't feel like a war. A war implies you are fighting against yourself. Effective work feels like a rhythm. It feels like breathing. Inhale information, exhale understanding, rest, repeat. The people you see who seem to breeze through medical school, or who learn 3 languages, or who master coding in 6 months, they aren't mutants. They don't have better brains than you. They just have a better manual. They stopped fighting the machine and started driving it. The speed of light is a hard limit of the universe. You cannot change it. Your biology has hard limits too. You cannot change them, but you don't need to change them. You just need to respect them. Once you stop forcing your brain to work in a way it wasn't designed for, you realize that the limit wasn't your intelligence. The limit was your strategy. So turn on the lamp. Set the timer for 25 minutes. Don't just read, asking yourself why. And when the timer goes off, walking away is the most productive thing you can do. Because you aren't just studying, you are building a mind. And that is a construction project that deserves the right tools.